in the General Assembly, particularly State House. So one example, what Jonathan was talking about earlier with respect to accessory dwelling units and essentially allowing those in single-family zoning areas. There was a bill that's been passed the past couple sessions in the House, bipartisan bill, almost unanimously, to allow for that across the board in North Carolina, allow for ADUs in single-family zoning. There's also another bill that's bipartisan. It hasn't been heard or voted on yet, but it's got 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats on it, a bill to eliminate parking minimums. So, from a policy perspective, I mean, we are seeing some movement. I would love to see more movement, and I would love to see us put our money where our mouth is in the state budget.
Well, Jonathan, I wanted to ask you really about the weather. Only because I know what's really reshaped habitat, over these past decades, the Indian Ocean tsunami and Hurricane Katrina. And then, in this state, in just a year and a half's time, we've had the remnants of Hurricane Helene in the west, and then Chantal right here. And you said that mitigation is the key. Some things, climate change, maybe we can do something about that, we think we can, but really mitigating some things early is really cheaper than trying to fix everything after the storm. And I wonder what movement Habitat is trying to, what we're trying to do in that arena.
Yeah, thank you for raising that. Sadly, the disasters are coming fast and furious. You can almost start the debate of whether more or fewer. When I started Habitat in 2005, we were responding to the Indian Ocean tsunami, which is one of the largest global housing disasters in recent time. And then literally as I started, Hurricane Katrina hit the U.S., which was a massive housing disaster. In some ways, it forced us to start thinking about disaster response and recovery as a core part of our work. But it's, depending on which study you pick and which disaster you're looking at, it's 5 to 14 times cheaper to prepare a community and build houses to be resilient to risk than it is to fix them after the risk. And so recognizing that we're going to have extreme weather, how do we build in a more resilient fashion? And then how do we work with the insurance industry? This is where we need markets and systems to work. So it's actually interesting, Alabama passed a law that we supported, which was if you build a fortified home that is resistant to tornadoes and hurricanes, then you get lower insurance rates. The problem for Habitat is we have an incredible record of building what we call Habitat Strong fortified homes, but we haven't gotten the corresponding lower insurance rates that recognize the lower risk of the home. So what we're trying to do is work in partnerships. Again, it always requires kind of public sector, private sector, and civil society working together to justify building stronger fortified homes with the connection to lower rates, because in some places now, we've got families, their insurance bill's higher than their mortgage at this point. It's gotten so lopsided in Florida and Texas, Louisiana particularly. Now California, because of wildfire risk, you actually can't even get insurance in many cases. So I think there are opportunities, and the mental model is a similar one we did 20 years ago with energy efficiency, where we built with, I would call, catalytic philanthropy with the Home Depot Foundation, 5,000 highly energy efficient homes. And then we demonstrated the families could afford to pay a slightly higher mortgage because their cost of living was going to go down over time. Then the production builders started building energy efficient. Then the materials got cheaper, and it became the norm that we would build energy efficient homes, which was the best thing for the world, but mostly great for our family home buyers as well. I think we're trying to come up with that same model for insurance, because it really is a market problem. You can't just beat up the insurance companies or they'll stop offering insurance. So how do we actually lower the actual risk? And we've had some really interesting examples from Bangladesh, to Florida. You may remember there was we get good press sometimes after these disasters. The Washington Post had a front page story, and there was a picture of Mexico Beach after Hurricane Charlie in Panama City. And then it was just total chaos. In the middle of all this destruction, 5 houses were just sitting there untouched. And it turned out to be 5 Habitat houses. The difference was about $3,000 worth of anchoring and strapping that meant the roof was fully anchored into the foundation. So the roof didn't peel up, and then the house doesn't explode in a major hurricane. those are doable, but you don't want to make it a regressive tax on families that are already struggling with housing. And that's where we got to kind of get smart people together to solve it at a system level.
Well, Lee, the question I have for you, and I guess I'd like all of you all probably to answer this as we wrap up our conversation. I know the Mayor of Chapel Hill, there's a lot of support, I'm assuming, Carolina North. But I wonder, maybe you can tell us some best practices that you've seen for engaging community support for Carolina North, and even for affordable housing access all together. And the other two gentlemen can also answer that.
Yeah, the Mayor Anderson has been a terrific partner throughout. She is an affordable housing expert. She ran on the affordable housing platform. She just got reelected unopposed. And so she has said that there is not a comprehensive solution to the affordable housing challenge in Chapel Hill without Carolina North. It really is the only large piece of developable land. So we're committed to really productive and robust dialogue. Obviously, with the elected officials of the town, Ivy Taylor is here, who runs local affairs for us. She's a former mayor of San Antonio, so has had experience with these challenges on a significantly larger scale. Mark Skinner, who you mentioned, who's helping pilot the Carolina North project for us. And so we have people dedicated to working with the town on a day in, day out basis. But it's not just the formal relationship between the university and the town. We want as much input from the community as possible, from homeowners and from people who want to be homeowners and stakeholders across the community. I should have mentioned one other component too, which is we haven't talked about transit at all. I mentioned the bus rapid transit going back down from Carolina North to Franklin Street to our campus, but part of it too is just how do you get people around from our campus and back out to where they live in the evening and to our campus in the morning. And the university funds the lion's share of Chapel Hill Transit and all of the cost of the routes that go to our campus. And again, we do that out of enlightened self-interest. Those are our students and our employees who need to get to our campuses and then get back home. And so the farther away you live from our campus, the less likely it is that you're going to be able to use public transit. It's another reason, given that we have the transit infrastructure in place, to try to densify using Carolina.
Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, so one thing that I've seen that's been effective at the General Assembly, there are certain days that organizations or advocacy groups will designate as advocacy days at the legislature. We're in the long session and we're in the short session, like we'll be in this year starting in late April. And so it'll be usually a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but advocates will pick a day where they bring folks from their respective communities across the state. And in the case of housing and affordable housing, one thing that I've seen that's, I think has been effective is where folks will come and talk about what their priorities are in terms of what the state needs to do to support and preserve affordable housing. I've had meetings in my office with advocates from Orange County, but other legislative boards will have advocates and community members from their own respective counties. And they'll have a one-pager. I've had meetings where folks are literally packing my office, maybe about 7 people or so, with a one-pager, and then they'll go kind of person by person about what is important from a funding perspective, from a policy perspective. I think those are some of the most effective advocacy tools because that legislator gets to see that person up close. They have a face to put to the cause. And each of those people, as I said before, every person has a housing story. Each of those people has a story to share about their own housing situation or their own struggle. And so I think for a lawmaker, it's pretty hard to tell that person straight up no when they're presenting that and when they're personalizing it in that way. And I think any kind of advocacy where you are having people tell a story about themselves or about someone they know who's from the community that that senator represents. That is, I think, some of the most powerful advocacy that can happen at the
Jonathan, do you have a new partner in Habitat that you thought you would never have, that you just brought over to the correct side?
I was talking to the governor of Montana, super conservative state, and he just passed, wiped out all local zoning in the state of Montana. And he did jujitsu. He made it a libertarian view. He said, we can't tell people what they can do on their land. And I thought that was brilliant. But it was in simile, very conservative state senator in Texas led a massive reform of Texas land use and law. And so I think you're seeing some really interesting examples. But I'm encouraged by this because if you think about it, complicated problems require multi-sector solutions. And we need public sector, private sector, civil society coming together. And we're really seeing it here. And so I think really thoughtful and very targeted subsidy, because there is going to need to be subsidy as a role government can play. We need private capital. Government will never have enough money to build at scale. We need the private sector to crowd in the capital. But the university has the most precious asset, which is low-cost basis land. And so the potential to put all those pieces together, I think, is really exciting. And I think, again, we've got to attack supply. We should still need demand support for very low-income families. But we've got to create more housing, and I think it sounds like the pieces are coming together, so it's how do we make this happen in a big way.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Let's give them a round of applause.
One more thank you, big round of applause for both our moderator and our panelists. As we close our time together, I do think it's important to end where Jennifer started us today, to be thinking about Jasmine, John, and Regina. 3 of the 11.2 million souls in North Carolina who deserve a decent place to live. Affordable housing is personal. It's personal to them, it's personal to us, and to the countless other Jasmines, Johns, and Reginas who do not currently have a decent place to live. For me, a few themes emerged today. As we discuss this audacious challenge of affordable housing in our county. 1, we've got to get creative about supply. When I joined the board 4 years ago, we were building 20 houses a year, and it was incredible and audacious. This year, we will build close to 40 homes per year. So huge shout out to the staff of Orange County Habitat for Humanity for the incredible work they do. As you know, that's not sufficient. So we've got to get creative about what we can do to continue to build affordable housing. 2, we must lean into innovation, whether it's innovative funding sources, public-private partnerships, transit, building materials, what to put on that one pager that we can bring into Representative Buansi's office when we pack your office as well. Thank you for that invitation, for sure. And lastly, for me, is the importance of partnership. Nonprofits, profits, governments, faith organizations, community members, voters, volunteers, donors, the list goes on. But it's going to take all of us working together, rowing in the same direction to solve this challenging problem. Thank you, speakers. Thank you for taking time on your busy days to be here today, to fly from across the globe and to be here. We deeply, deeply appreciate it. Thank you to all of the members in this audience for taking time out of your busy lives to address and come and be part of the solutions to this challenging issue that we're all trying to tackle. We didn't have time for Q&A. We will stick around. Our speakers will stick around for a little bit. Please mingle. There's still coffee outside. I believe there's a little gift for everyone outside. Be sure to pick that up. On the back of your program, I did not forget my housekeeping items, is information about our next event, the Spring Farm to Table event that is coming up soon, and how you can get tickets. We'd love to see you there. And then finally, in the spirit of recycling, we'd love to connect all of your name tags so we can use them for our next event. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate it.
Okay.